Thank you for tuning in to Full Disclosure, created intentionally for aspiring entrepreneurs, business owners who are hungry to learn from the best. This is not an aspirational interview podcast. We're going to do things a bit differently. Each Full Disclosure episode is a mini masterclass led by an expert going deep into one topic to do with growing your business. The part that I'm most excited to share with you all is every episode, one lucky listener wins a free consultation call with our experts. If you want to learn more how you can apply for that, it's in the show notes of the episode. I am Alina Khan, your host and fellow entrepreneur, and I'm here to make this journey of growing your business honestly less overwhelming and less lonely. So with that said, get your notepads out because you're going to want to save a lot of tips from this episode. I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. Her story is so inspiring. She just turned 30, which is like a big milestone, but another massive milestone that she should be super proud of is her brand scaled to 1 million dirhams without spending a single dollar on paid marketing. And we're going to get into how you can scale without a paid media budget. I know that that's something that so many of us want to learn. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Alice Rose Bugeja. Alice, welcome to the Full Disclosure podcast.
Thank you, I'm so excited. This is my first ever podcast, so
that's a huge deal.
It's a big day.
It's an honor for me to also get to be your first podcast. So I'm really, really excited about it. I feel like we have so much to talk about.
I feel like when we first met, I just had like such a good energy, and I was like, I know when you asked me to come on that I really wanted to this to be the first one.
But I feel the same about you. I feel like when we met, it was just instant. We were kind of like both oversharing.
We for hours.
Seriously, because I feel like you kind of only get so much of this if you're in the brand journey, and I think we're both really real about the ups and downs of this whole process.
And it's not easy to meet other female founders. So I think
and also other female founders that are open to share.
Yeah.
Like the truth.
Yeah.
The truth of it all. So Alice, before we get started, I always ask my guests to take a pledge because at Full Disclosure, we're all about committing to oversharing, not holding things back. I really don't want it to be surface level advice or sound bites. First of all, I've heard you speak, so I know you're not like that anyway. But if we could take a pledge, so Alice, do you commit to full disclosure today with our listeners of business owners, sharing as much knowledge as you can and not holding back with insights that you think would be truly valuable?
I do. I feel like I'm getting married.
I do. Okay, well, let's lock it in. And let's get married. Okay, so your background is really interesting. You actually started your career at Dyson for 5 years, and you ended up kind of managing their marketing for this region. And I'm sure that that plays a part in some of the marketing knowledge that you had before starting Mile Off. And I think it's really cool. A lot of people want to pivot from corporate to entrepreneurship. Let's talk a little bit about that before we dive in, how you were able to take that jump. Because I know you mentioned, there was some planning involved with knowing that you could kind of be okay for a year.
Yeah.
But if we could talk a bit about that before we go into the topic.
Yeah. So I guess the financial topic is something quite taboo. People don't speak about.
Yeah.
And sharing my journey on social media is a really important part in sort of peeling back the layers and showing, especially like the finances, like how I did it, because you don't see people talking about that. So I started working at Dyson 5 years ago, and as soon as I started saving up money because I always knew that I wanted my own business. I didn't know when it was going to be or, what I was going to do, but I knew that I would need the funds to be able to put into it.
So that was always the plan.
So it was always a plan.
Yeah.
I just didn't know when that was going to be. It could be 5 years, 10 years
Wow.
time. But yeah, I started saving up. I just had a sort of series of very fortunate events. I guess COVID, whichever way you look at it, it meant that I was living with family. So I was then not paying rent. So I saved up for that year. I then moved to Madrid on an international placement. The company was paying for my rent. So I managed to save that year. And then coming to Dubai, I just saved, as much as possible with no tax. And that meant that I saved up enough to live for one whole year without having to worry about having an income when I eventually left my job and launched my
I think that's really helpful for people to hear because they're always wondering what is the right moment when you can take the risk and leave your job. But I think that's kind of a nice one to keep in mind. Like, do you have maybe 12 months worth of saving, which is actually a big thing to reach, by the way. That's really impressive. Did your family teach you financial planning growing up, or where did you get that mentality to actually think about saving? Because to be honest, when you're in your 20s, sometimes you really overlook this.
Yeah, I think my dad was always very sort of frugal and taught me the value of money. Whenever we got a laptop or a mobile that would last you like a long time, like I've had my Apple for like my Apple Mac for 15 years. Like I look after everything, really carefully.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think having like a year to live is a lot, but not if you actually really look at your expenses. Like I moved flat to make it work. So we moved to like the kind of cheapest one bed in the area that we could find.
Yeah.
I don't have a car. I like didn't really go on holiday last year. Like I don't go out and drink. I don't drink. So, you know, I wasn't spending a lot of money on the weekends.
Save there.
Save a lot into on that.
Yeah.
So I was really, really careful because I, you know, wanted this dream and wanted to make it happen so much. So you kind of have to make some sacrifices.
Definitely, and that's just the reality of it. But like you said, look at where it got you.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually really cool, and a lot of people don't share that part. You have reached 1 million dirhams without spending on paid media. Is that accurate before we move on?
Yeah, that's correct.
That is incredible. Do you think a lot of what prepared you to be able to focus on marketing in a way that was more ahead of the curve and didn't rely just on paid? Like, did any of it come from the Dyson experience?
I think Dyson was almost like, for me, a mini MBA in business.
Yeah.
Because I was rotating around the first 2 years. I did a graduate program. So every 6 months I was changing. I was doing e-com, then I was doing key account management, then I was doing CRM, owner experience. And then the final 2 years when I was in Dubai, I was doing like pure brand marketing. So I was working on events, PR, working with all the teams. So I've really got like a breadth of knowledge of everything, of like what makes up a business, a bit of like looking at a P&L and cash flow, budgets, like everything, just a good foundation. I wouldn't say that it helped me specifically in like the social media space. That came from me launching my sort of personal page, which I did 3 years ago. So October 2022, I launched Alice Rose Runner, kind of out of like pure love for just wanting to have a creative outlet, learning how to be better at like photography, videography, also kind of knowing that I had the start of the idea of Mile Off, and there was a lot of things I didn't know how to start, like finding a manufacturer, supplier, but I knew that one thing I could do in that moment was, you know, start an Instagram page. Anyone can do that. There's no barriers, there's no costs involved. You can just start. So yeah, getting into that space, and then 3 years of like really being in it, posting every day, getting better at reels, listening to podcasts about social media. That's like where I would say that I really got those sort of skills.
And I think this is a foundation piece to going deeper into your story. So let's start with building your personal brand on Alice Rose Runner, right? So I feel like that really is where the story starts. What made you start a page? Was it already the personal page you had that your friends are following? Was it a brand new page you started? And back then, 3 years ago, like what were you thinking when you started it? Was this all with a plan in mind that you were going to launch something, or was it just let me start a page because I love running?
It was, I would say like 50-50.
Yeah.
So partly I launched a page because I had so many friends coming to me saying, you know, what like trainers would you recommend? Like they wanted to know more about running. And I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of an expert in this area and it's something that I'm super passionate about. So like, why not actually help other women? And I've had quite an up and down journey with running. Like my first couple of marathons I ended in a medical tent because I didn't know about fueling and hydration and nutrition. So I was like,
wow.
I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a PT, a running coach, but I can share sort of 10 years of experience of running. I hope that might help someone else. So half of it was like, I really want to do this to help other women. And also there wasn't really any female runners in the region when I moved to Dubai. You know, it was quite a big thing in Europe and London. There's loads of girls, but here I couldn't find anyone that I could sort of follow and find running routes in Dubai. So I was like, oh, there's a bit of a gap like here that I can actually be of help and value to people. And then the other side was I'd had the very start seed inkling of Mile Off. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to start this business, but this is a first step in getting better at all the skills I will need when I eventually launch something like that.
No, that makes sense. And for anyone that doesn't know, Mile Off is running wear for women, and they're most known for their running vests, which we're going to get into. But when you were starting Alice Rose Runner, was it a part of a strategy of knowing you need to have a niche to do well on social? Like, how much of it was strategic so that can maybe inspire listeners?
I think I would be lying if saying that it wasn't strategic at all, but I think it's just because whenever I do something in my life, I do it to the absolute best that I can. So I wasn't just going to sort of launch a page and then, not really post, or like I was really intrigued about like, oh, how can I reach as many people to get this valuable information out? You know, if I'm putting in 2, 3, 4 hours a day editing something for it to just go to 200 people like that, what's the point? So I actually did like take a course, which to be honest was probably a bit of a waste of money. Like I just went straight in there, but I was being proactive. I did take a course and started learning about it, and then kind of went on to podcasts. It was kind of a course on how to grow on social media.
Okay, nice, yeah.
But yeah, honestly, it was probably $300 like wasted. At the time, there's a lot better courses now that I would recommend.
You should make the course. You should do the course.
But even little things like, say, telling me that I should start a brand new page and not just start a page on my personal existing page, which had like 700 friends and family.
Okay,
like
so you didn't choose to continue your personal page that already had 700.
I started from
no
zero, and I think
why
nowadays it's so easy to just be like, oh, but I've already got 1,000. So, I don't want to start from scratch. It's going to be so hard to get up to that. But if you're putting out content on your specific passion niche, 95% of my followers or my old, family, friends, followers on my personal page, they don't want to know about running and female specific tips and things like this. They're old school friends, they're uni friends. And so, putting that content out to them is just going to fall dead. Like, you're not going to get the engagement and it's not going to get pushed out. So even though it's really hard and it will take you longer, in the beginning, in the long run, that's going to help you to have sort of that fresh, clean slate and starting.
Wow, that's actually interesting because I have like around 2,500, which is like obviously small, but it's still something like better than starting from scratch. And I'm also trying to grow my personal brand, but I've been continuing on this page. But it's like interesting. I almost wish I like had this chat with you a few months ago because I'm trying to specifically make my content for business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs. So I guess like following your advice, it would have been to have a page that's more niche to that.
Yeah.
It is mainly like friends that will also turn into that. And I'm hoping it's because some of my friends are those people. But I think if I would have done it the right way, maybe it would be starting from scratch and it's just business owners wanting that content. Yeah. That makes sense. So, okay, how did you start Alice Rose Runner? How did you grow it?
I think the first thing I want to say is I never had a viral moment during that like 3-year journey, even like up till now on my personal page. I think I can think of one reel that reached like 100,000, which is a pretty cool moment. That was Jan 1st when I announced on my page that I was launching Mile Off.
Okay.
So that was like the first time that I was like, wow, 10,000, 20,000. Like I saw viral, but it, 100,000 isn't huge now. I've seen like what we're doing on Mile Off, but I think it taught me so much in like terms of consistency and keeping going when, you're not getting these huge dopamine hits of, oh, I got a viral reel. It was 3 years of just posting almost every single day. If you look, I think I've done 600 posts in 3 years. That's every other day. I posted consistently.
On grid, not just stories. So there's an actual post.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I knew that was going to be vital if I wanted to grow because, if you don't set yourself a specific goal, then you could just end up being busy and the weeks roll by and you've done one post here, a reel there. So exactly. I remember telling myself, like, I am going to, get this post out even when I come back from work. I'm super tired. I've been busy and it's 10 p.m. and I haven't done a post. Like, I got that post done. And that is how I've managed to sort of improve creating reels, editing really quickly. And all that experience has then helped when I launched Mile Off. Like, I kind of knew what I was doing. And we have fortunately seen some of these viral moments and been able to really, like, scale the Mile Off page. I think even for me, like now on my personal page, I still think, I wish I could be doing better numbers. And because I see other people and, they're doing maybe like short form. I do quite long form story in-depth sort of content, but I see people doing really short reels, like 3-4 seconds. It's something really relatable. So then it's very shareable. So it goes viral. And then maybe, they do gain followers from that. But in the long term, like what's that going to give someone who's just seeing a viral sort of reel? They'll like it for a bit, but then they just want the next viral reel.
And they don't care about running deeply.
They don't care about you. They don't care about your story. They're not going to buy from you or buy into what you're sort of saying. And, if you do work with brands or partnerships, they're not really there because of you. They're just there because it was like a funny meme or something.
Exactly. I feel like a follower doesn't mean nothing if they're not a follower that deeply cares about your content. And that's how, we started off talking about conversion, how you're able to actually reach. Let's go back to sales. It's like, this is about actually a business. This is about revenue. You were able to get 1 million dirhams in sales. You were able to convince people to buy with a following that's actually not 1 million or 2 million. And that's why quality over quantity matters, because your audience genuinely cares so much about this space. So I think starting with a personal brand that's so niche, I feel like is such a superpower that you have.
Yeah.
And I love that you stayed true to that and you weren't kind of like doing a bit of this, a bit of that. It seems like you were like, I'm the go-to trusted like running page.
Yeah.
And look at where that took you.
Yeah. And I really want people to know that you don't have to have 1 million followers. I think that can be quite a big barrier for people nowadays. Think like when they're starting, they're thinking, oh, like I don't have this huge following, so I can't do it. Like, there's these people with huge followings. But I literally had 0, like when I first had the idea, got up to 10,000 followers when I then launched Mile Off, which, it's amazing, but it's not compared to people who have 50, 100 million followers. But that was all I needed to,
to convert in such a powerful way.
Yeah.
It's actually an amazing story because you do kind of assume these sales numbers come from 500K, 1 million, but it's actually really powerful if you think about it. So your personal has around 17,000, Mile Off has over 40,000, but those numbers are like not the viral crazy numbers that we're used to hearing. Yeah. But it's so much about quality over quantity, I think, for you. Yeah. And I think it's a really good reminder. But so how did you get to the 10K followers on Alice Rose Runner? Like, what does the day-to-day look like? You also had a corporate job. And why is it important to post every other day? Is it the parasocial relationship where people need to feel like they know you on the internet and spend a lot of time watching your content? Or is it more for trialing and testing?
I think for me, like the consistency element was just so that I knew that I was going to be in this for the long run, because there were so many times when I was going to give up just because I thought I was reaching 300 people. I've got 500 followers, but like giving yourself that target and commitment, like that was just purely to sort of stay in the game. So, you know, that's why I did every other day. And I knew that I would like improve faster. Like if I'd only posted once a week, that was going to take me 5 years of what I did in, you know, 1 year kind of thing.
True.
You have to feed the algorithm, like to be consistent, and again, just to like get better quicker, to understand what's working, to be able to look at the data analytics and in your past week say, oh, this row did really well, so I'm going to do this sort of content again, or open with this hook. So it's just like a learning thing. Exactly.
And then with hooks and trends, how much was it trending audios and things like that helped? Or for you, was it really not about those kind of technical tips? Was it just consistency?
I think if I'd really learned those tips earlier on, I probably would have been able to grow a lot quicker. Like it was just me creating things that I wanted to put out there that were of value. Like I did try and give as much value, you know, tips on things. I created a running guide, which it took me like a year to do that. So it's like a 40-page running guide that I just wanted to put out kind of for free because I knew it would help, but also it's like kind of also serving the community and the audience. So yeah, that was just the first year, I would say that. And then once I got to like 3,000 followers, then look, brands and sort of local activations and things that were happening started to reach out to me, which is amazing because I know in other big cities, you know, when there's a lot more competition, that might not have happened at 3,000 followers. You know, you might need to have 10, 20, 30 to sort of be recognized. And that was the coolest thing. So I was like, this is when like traction's starting to happen.
Wow, so at 3,000 you could already get brand deals. I think that's also inspiring for our listeners. But do you think it's because it was so niche?
I think because my content at that point was good. So, you know, that people seeing and like, oh yeah, I want Alice to create a reel of our shoe pop-up that we've got down on JBR because she's going to create a really nice reel. So it doesn't matter how many
So the
followers.
quality was good.
Yeah.
Okay, and you were sharing value, so I think people are trusting you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were talking about sort of the content like funnel, and this is more from like my business brand perspective of how you can sort of group the different types of content that you make. So if you think about the top part of the funnel and you're trying to get as many people in as possible, you don't want to be shouting about your product or anything specific about your brand. Like you just want to be talking about your general niche. So for me, that's running. And London Marathon ballot had closed. People had sent out their emails, whether they got in or not. And there was, I can't remember the exact number, now, was it 1.4 million entries for, you know, a very small amount of possible entries. And so there's a lot of people that didn't get into London Marathon. So I was like, okay, like it's cool to show people there's a lot of different marathon options. So I made like a very simple carousel to say, how about you do Barcelona Marathon at this date? How about you do Rome Marathon at this date? There's a half marathon going on here. And that did so well because it was about running in general. People were sharing it to their friends like, oh, this is a cool marathon idea. Shall we do this? And, you know, it's something really simple that anyone could do. Like I think I took like stock imagery even for that, you know, of cities. Like I didn't even have to film or edit anything myself.
I love it because it's something that we can all take away. So it's like, what's your industry? Pick something that's relevant in culture. Like it just happened. So London Marathon, everyone was emotional in that exact moment because I didn't get in. And then you were like, oh, let me provide value and give you a whole list of other options for you. So of course people are going to share that.
So in an aesthetic way.
Exactly.
Like, just it looks like I grabbing attention grabbing. Like it's sort of like very simple, clear dates like with the text.
So before we move off to then the Mile Off page, because it all started with Alice Rose Runner and reaching that 10K before you announced that you're launching a brand. What did the day-to-day look like with shooting content? So, for example, like you come back from your corporate job, are you just testing something that day and you're like, okay, today I'm doing this? Do you plan in advance? In one day, do you shoot multiple content pieces and you just change your outfit? What does it actually look like?
for me, I wish I could say like that's my advice would be to batch content and do all of these things, but honestly, like I was less organized, it was a bit more chaotic, like I didn't have the headspace. I would just come back and be like, I'm gonna post a carousel today, or I'm gonna create a reel, or in the morning maybe I would go on a run, so I'd film that and then I'd just edit that in the evening.
Okay.
Something I'd done that day.
And so many people are scared to talk on camera or just scared to put themselves out there. How do you talk yourself out of feeling like this is cringe? Because it's such a big part of probably you, I think, mentioned that you started getting more traction once you started speaking on camera.
I think if you really look at the people that you follow and the creators you love to watch, it's when they're talking directly to you, face of the camera. And I still find it hard, you know, if I'm walking around outside filming and someone's there, I even like,
who do I think I am?
I don't know why. It's a weird barrier that we've all got up.
But it does make a difference.
Yeah, I think you just, pictures, voiceovers, there's only a certain amount that you can connect with, when you see someone and they're like, look like they're talking to you, that's just like a whole other level of like engagement.
Did you have to convince yourself to do it, or was it okay? Like, was it not that scary for you?
I think I just started like with stories or, little moments that didn't feel so big. And you just start slowly, and you get better. And I guess like now it's hard because for me, the reality of running a business is most days I'm just at my desk at home. Like I don't put makeup on.
Yeah.
I've just like gone for a run. I'm there sat in my sweaty clothes, like dealing with sort of like crisis. And then I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to turn the camera on because I don't feel like I'm ready to look like a certain way. But actually, like on TikTok and things, that is what works. It's just the authenticity. So I do try. But yeah, I think like the hardest thing is feeling like you're prepared.
Yeah, sweaty is in now. It's perfect. Love that for us because as girls, it's so hard. Okay, so you reached 10,000 on Alice Rose Runner and then you announced that you're launching a brand. So talk us through that journey. And I think it's just, again, I want to focus on, it was the 3 years of you building a personal brand that I think truly catapulted the success of how you were able to rely on organic social and not paid for your brand. So what happens when you decide you're working on a brand behind the scenes? Do people know about it?
Yeah,
what?
So that's one of my favorite reels that I've actually ever created. You can go, it's on my profile, it's top left pinned up, just because it was a super exciting moment because everything was top secret. Like only my closest family friends knew that I'd been building Mile Off. I'd like handed my notice in. Some people knew that I was leaving my job, but I hadn't said like for what. And I remember I took my like tripod, I just bought a DJ Osmo like to really sort of upgrade my content, and I took it to the Dubai harbour with like amazing backdrop. And this is what I always say, like you can always find, especially like in Dubai, you can find amazing places to film stuff. You don't need like a studio and anything expensive. Like go outside, bright blue sunshine, and I literally filmed it, and I kind of like released the secret that I've been holding in for a couple of years. And you can just see like how excited I was in that reel. Like it was genuine passion and energy, and like, oh my god, I'm putting this out into the world. So I recorded that in like December, and then Jan 1st I like put it out, and it eventually, I think it only got like sort of 10,000 followers, and then it gained traction. 10,000 views, and then it gained traction to about 100,000, and that was it. Like I think from our 10,000 followers on my page, about 2,000 to 3,000 went over onto Mile Off. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, like 25, 30% of people who were following me were really interested, and that's because I had like a largely female audience, really like specific about running. So they were like, oh, they could see the gap in the market, they were in need, so they started following, and that was just like a really good foundation to then start building up off of that.
It's a no-brainer. They already trust you for running, so the trust took 3 years of building community, and then they're like, why would we not want to see what she's creating finally? Yeah. So you got like 2,000, 3,000, so Mile Off had like a nice start. And then what did you do until launch to keep that social page growing and exciting? Because you brought everyone into your BTS journey, right?
So timelines, Jan 1st, I posted the announcement, and we didn't launch until International Women's Day in March. So there's a 3-month build up that I was trying to post again every other day of everything that I was doing. And I'd also banked a lot of content in the 2 years that I was doing everything with Mile Off. So when I got my first ever sample, I propped the phone up and I just recorded it, and that was from 2 years ago, but then I had that ready to make a reel. So I guess that is also like a really important point to make, is like try and just film as much as you can, even if you're not posting it straight away. Like it all comes in handy, and it is so nice for me to have those moments as well. Like I literally recorded the very first day that I did some like sketches. I literally said to the camera, this is my first day of like putting pen to paper on Mile Off, and like it's just a picture of me in bed in my pajamas but like sketching something. But for me to just be like, wow, Like that was sort of like 3 years ago that I had this idea, and to see it all come to life. So, you know, not just for the outside world and social media, but it's really nice to have those things documented.
Yeah.
And that's also why I started a YouTube as well, because I really wanted to go deeper into the process. But that's sort of another story of
oh wow, I didn't even know that you are active on YouTube as well.
Yeah, I mean, active's a loose word, but
Yeah.
you know, when I launched, I had Instagram, TikTok, and then I really wanted to do the sort of long form content on YouTube, because it was something new for me that I'd never tried. But I was like, this is how I can really give value to people, to like, you know, in a 2-minute reel, how am I going to say, like, how are you going to find a manufacturer? And so I really wanted to do that. And I've done 4 or 5 videos, but it's a bit of a gap. Like it just takes so long to edit the content, but that is something that I do want to pick back up.
When you do YouTube, do you notice like, oh wow, like the level of engagement, or is there anything that stands out?
No,
to
like
you,
it's
or?
very, like I think I've got like 200-300 views on the videos. It's a whole new world to me that you know, there's a lot to understand with thumbnails, and you know,
I'm sure you will crack it though. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a sort of side project.
Okay, no, yeah, I think YouTube is something I also, by the way, we should exchange notes, because I heard a podcast about it. Apparently it's all about like titles and thumbnails.
Which
and people love before and afters or transformation thumbnails. Okay. So it's really interesting. But okay, so you, from January to March, we're bringing in everyone behind the scenes on the Mile Off page.
Yeah.
From January to March, how many followers did you gain?
I think when we launched, we had around 7,000
nice.
followers.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of, I guess, like doubled in that time. And then I can't remember, it was April, so it must have been a month after launch, we had a viral reel, which is still going today. Every day that I open up my Instagram, I'm still getting followers from it. Like, it's still going around, which is just insane. And it was about our hero piece, the running vest. And I don't know, it's kind of crazy, because you look at it and you think, why was this reel so special? But it was very relatable. Like, I was talking about how there's a big stigma around wearing running vests, and I wanted to get across the message that like our brand is about encouraging people to wear whatever they want. Like, forget about what people say, and you can wear a running vest for 5k, 10k, you know, up to a marathon. You don't need to be doing an ultra marathon distance. And yeah, it's hit 1.5 million views on Instagram, and we've gained 24,000 followers from it, which is,
I think you need to say that again, because it's not normal for one piece of content to lead to that many new followers. No. So your one reels led to 24,000 followers on Mile Off, which that's unheard of.
You can't put monetary terms if you wanted to buy. That's half of our following. And I just think, what if I hadn't posted that day? Like, what if I had been too tired and I just didn't post that reel that day?
It's very hard, I think, for people that don't understand, and because I have a brand myself, even when you get reach like that, the number of followers can sometimes still be like 30, 40. That even feels big, by the way. To have 24,000 people see the reel but also choose to follow is another level of connection and commitment, and that is unheard of. And did you say that it's because Instagram kept continuing to show that reels even though it's been months? Like, I think you said till this day.
April, May, June, July, August, 5 months later, it's still
showing that to people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you, Instagram. Thank you.
That one reels was such a part of like your brand growth. If you think about your business growth. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. And part of that, you know, it's not just the reel and the content, it's because of the product that was in it.
Yeah.
So that's the years of development of that product and what makes it so unique, and the gap in the market that we found. Like, people are following because they've seen the product and they're like, this is something that I need, I want, I can't find this anywhere else. So you know, there's a lot of like aspects to it.
Actually, I want to talk about products. So just lastly, on the January to March, building a BTS page, because I always say, you don't want to put so much effort into a brand, but then you launch to 0 people. Yeah. So I think it's really important, but some people don't know, how much do I give away? So what kind of things were you showing from January to March that kept your page exciting?
So I didn't share anything up until January, as you said. Like, I didn't want to give too much away before I knew that we were definitely ready to launch. Like, we had that launch date in mind. I had the final samples. You know, I was, you know, at some point I didn't, like last year, I didn't know 100% we were going to launch this brand. Like, I needed to get, you know, the product to a certain place. So I'd say you need to get, you know, maybe 3-4 months out of launch with everything roughly like ready. I just had like the website to do and things that I knew that I could do. Like the BTS, there's so much you can share, that like every little bit about your day you can make into BTS. Like, I literally was packaging up influencer PR parcels, and I made that into a reel. And like, you don't even have to at that point I was showing the products because it was very close to it, but there's so much stuff that you don't have to show. Packaging, like how you created the packaging, getting the first sample, saying, oh no, this is terrible, so like I'm gonna, redo it and go back again. Every single thing in your day that you think is boring, like people want to know about.
So even if it's like you just like creating a brown deck, you're just showing yourself on a laptop, you're just bringing people in on the what seems
like
boring
your
too.
color palette ideas, everything that you do in a day, think, how could I just make this into a bit of content? Like even like boring stuff, like for me, boring, like finances, when you first sit down and you think, okay, this product's going to cost me this much, like how am I going to do my pricing? Like people are interested in
Did you talk about that even?
I haven't, like I did some bits at the beginning about like finding manufacturers, like how I quit my job, and like how I had the money and how much I put into it and things, but I would like to go more into that. I'm only just really starting to understand it myself, the Excel sheet, and you're like, okay, this is, how much the packaging is, this is the base cost price, this is the shipping, this is the custom duties, like all of these things, like I didn't know where to find that at the start, so I would like to go into more detail.
That would help a lot of business owners in the beginning of their journey.
Yeah, and I think it's hard because when you are new, like I don't feel maybe an expert to speak about these things. Like there's someone who's been running a business for 5-10 years who really knows, and like I could make a mistake and I could say, oh, these are all the elements that go into making up a product, and then I could be missing something because I still haven't learned it yet. But I think you shouldn't let that be a barrier to posting content, and just because you don't think you're qualified to speak about something, because that's actually going to help someone else who's at your stage. Like if I hear from someone who's 10 years in the journey and they're maybe talking about things that are just, it's such a big gap for me, like I'm not there yet. So you want to speak to people who are at your level.
I agree.
And my basic knowledge on the finance will be at the perfect level for them to understand and a good starting point for them. Like they're not going to be able to implement something.
Yeah, you don't have to be an expert just to talk.
Yeah.
It's like you can share an experience that's actually more relatable, and you probably feel like a safer space then for that person that's like, wait, I have no idea, because you're like, that was me maybe a year ago, but now let me tell you what I learned.
Yeah.
And it's so true. We don't have to be experts just to have an opinion or just to share.
Yeah.
Because you're also not claiming to be an expert. You're just sharing what worked for you.
And I think that's what I thought was missing as well. Like why I wanted to document the journey, because I could see so many amazing, inspiring founders who are 5-10 years on their journey. And there's like no one who's done it from like absolute zero, and seeing, from zero to the first 6 months to the first year. Like I really wanted to give the insight into that journey.
Many of you listening to this episode are probably into fitness and wellness, and such a big part of that is what we eat. I decided to try Fit Meals. I ordered their 2-day trial meal plan, and I'm actually so impressed with how fresh and satisfying these meals look. You get breakfast, lunch, a midday snack, and dinner, and it's all based on the goals that you selected on their website. Fit Meals cooks everything fresh, and their menu is designed by a nutritionist and updates every single week, so you're not always having the same orders. And lastly, they deliver to you 3 times a week, so you're not storing a bunch of containers in your fridge. I'm excited to try this, and they have peri-peri chicken, so I'm happy with that. Let's switch to product, because obviously organic social is a huge part of, I think, how you were able to not spend on paid marketing, but there is more than that too. So let's kind of talk about, do you think it's having a hero SKU to start with that is different than what's on the market? Like, what can we teach people about how to think of, okay, if you're launching something, grow the personal brand, have a niche, then build a page and bring people in your journey. But what about the actual concept of the product?
Yeah, so one big pillar that we haven't spoken about yet is influencers, and how influencers can sort of elevate your page, bring you followers in. But in order to work with influencers, you need to have a completely unique niche product. And if you just go and, send a DM to someone and say, oh, I've got this, I'm thinking of makeup, do you have a makeup brand? This mascara. And it's like every single other mascara that they've been reached out to about, or, they've got contracts with big brands. Like, why are they going to reply to you?
They're like, cute.
So, and unfortunately that's just like the reality. So for me, like when I was ideating about Mile Off, and I was like, I know that I've got 2 really like specific products that are going to set me apart from everything that's like on the market. And when I went to say the influencers, they were like, oh wow, like I want to wear this because I can't get this anywhere else. I can wear this because maybe it's outside of a contract they have with the brand, because it's not like a typical product, like a leggings or a short or a top. The sort of whole idea behind Mile Off was I couldn't find a perfect pair of running shorts and with enough pockets in to run a marathon. So even the huge brands, Nike, Lululemon, Adidas, they weren't doing it. And I've been searching high and low, couldn't find it. So for me, I was like, okay, running shorts, this is going to be my niche product. And then as I was sort of going and moving to Dubai and it being really, really hot in the summer and you had to take like a lot with you, like water on your runs, I was like started to wear like hydration vests, but I could not find them. You know, they were always out of stock. They were super expensive. You can only get them from like a few sort of premium brands, like way out of a lot of people's price range. The material was very like mesh, techie, like made for ultra marathons, like quite puffy. Had
like
things
it's not
hanging
cute,
off.
yeah.
No, and the colours like black and white. So I was like, oh, there's like actually a bigger sort of market for this product. Like shorts, yes, I'm going to do something different, but like to really see that difference when everyone is doing a pair of shorts will be quite hard. Like this is really going to set me apart. And people will immediately realize like, oh, this is something completely different that I haven't seen before.
And I think you were saying your vest is not just for athletes, it's specifically for runners. So I think you're quite niche in the fact that it is a running vest, right?
Yeah, I would say like when you're creating your brand, your product, like really going into a niche. Like so many people said, oh, are you going to do men's, like a men's range? And I'm like, no. And besides being the whole point of this is like a female running brand and the whole female empowerment and everything, like why would I just dilute especially when you're a solo founder, why would I dilute my time and energy trying to cater for a whole another audience? Like you can go so specific into a sport, one specific thing, one gender, just a few key pieces and absolutely nail them. I think that's going to like set you up for a lot more success than trying to just do too much.
No, it's so true because I think people think there's more money the more you open it up, but I actually think your approach proves the opposite.
Yeah.
And I've actually heard this from an e-com expert who we had on the pod as well, where the more niche you are and you know, okay, my audience eats here, listens to this, the more you know your customer persona, you're actually like deeper with them and you actually convert so much more rather than appealing to everyone.
Yeah.
So I love that you're all about the niche, I think, from every aspect of what you're doing. But let's talk a little bit more about influencers. Has this been a key part in how you've reached these sales numbers? Like what has worked there? What do you do well there that other people can learn from?
I just want to like firstly, not that anyone would probably be listening to this, but like I'm so grateful to every single girl who has posted about us because that really has been like a key sort of part in us growing. And I feel like this sense of like women supporting women, every time that I've reached out to someone and they've sort of been really excited, messaged back saying absolutely like would love to receive like something from you and posted it on a story with a tag, like it means so much. So we had like a few really key moments. One was Zoe Ray, and there's like a whole story I won't go into now about how I actually had like tried to get the product in her hand. Like it's not as easy as just sending a DM and they reply and you send it. Like she was in Dubai and she was on a run and I like tried to think of how I could get a friend because I wasn't in the country to get it to her. Like
I've been there. I've completely been there.
There's always a whole mission behind.
I have found out where guests are staying in Dubai in the hotel and I've literally, because they tag, and then I'll go to the concierge of the hotel and literally just leave a gift under their name.
Wow.
And a lot of hotels don't need you to give the room number. They're like, okay, and they do give it because it's just a gift and you're not trying to go to the room.
Yeah.
But I've totally got you and I think it pays off to actually really make an effort there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we managed to get a run vest to her and she wore it and she tagged us. And what's interesting though, like that was amazing. We had the most amount of visits to the website that we'd, ever had. But I then was like, oh, how can I amplify this further? Because I had seen Amy Smale talk about this on Odd Muse, and she was like, it doesn't just stop when someone posts. Like, you then got to talk about it to keep the narrative going and amplify it more. So I literally did the quickest post on TikTok, like the most unaesthetic. I think it was like really late in the evening. I just had to get something out, and I just did this carousel screenshots of what she posted, and that went like 400,000 sort of people like views.
Wow, so what was the angle there? Were you like, oh my god, this like Zoe Ray just posted? Or was it about how I got her to post?
Yeah, I was just saying, I did like two. I did a carousel, which was just like Zoe Ray's posted, our small brand. And then I did another one, like a reel actually talking about like the whole story of how we did it. Because I think it's interesting for people to know, you just see like influencers wearing brands and you're like, oh, but how did that actually happen? And it isn't, as I said, just sending them a DM sometimes and them, replying. Like there are these crazy stories behind it. So yeah, just like being authentic and transparent at how like you got that.
But it's really smart. It's like it doesn't just stop at the post. You did a post about the post.
Yeah.
And then how you got the post.
The deception, the matrix. Yeah.
No, but I actually love it because you're right. It's like, how can we think as business owners? How do you get people? How do you leverage one moment beyond that moment where people are still talking about it, or there's more you can capture from it?
Yeah.
And I think that's really smart. So when you're DMing an influencer, what works? What's the approach? Any helpful tips there?
I mean, honestly, like I'm just myself.
Is it from Mile Off or from Alice Rose?
Actually, Sometimes a mixture of both, depending. Like if someone has followed us and liked something on Mile Off page, which is absolutely amazing, and I'll be like, oh, 'cause I've been following them for a while or something, I will just send them a message from Mile Off. If not, I might do it from my personal page, because I do want them to know that it's me. It's not just like a brand.
It's a human, not AI.
Yeah. And I would just send like a message like I would send to a friend, kind of like a very real message saying, you know, hopefully I've followed them for a while, and not hopefully, like I normally have followed them for a while. Start that again, cut that. Like normally it's someone that I really looked up to, and
so you're excited they followed you.
So I send a message. I'll sort of explain a little bit about Mile Off, the brand. Like I won't keep it, you know, keep it short. Like they're not going to read like a really, really long message, and then include like a really nice campaign imagery piece, just because if they've got 2 seconds to open your message and they don't click through to your brand or to see your product, you want something else there to just grab their attention.
So true, because you're right. I thought that everyone would at least click on the profile page, but you're right, some of them don't even bother. So put an image right in the DM.
Imagine they've got hundreds of messages and they're going to open yours and they just see loads of text, like they always see when they open the messages, that they're not going to, you know, necessarily do anything else. So just having something there as well to show the product, and if they see it and it's, you know, colourful or it looks really cool, they can be like, oh, what is this? And then more likely to
so true. And do you ask them, because with gifting, because it's free and there's no contract, do you ask them like, would mean so much if you tag? Do you leave it? What works there?
I don't, like, it's completely up to them. Like, I know from my side of working with brands, and like I understand that that's how they make their money, you know, like I don't ever want to, you know, have to ask someone to do something for us. It is just if they love the product so much and want to support us, and I really hope that in the future we can sort of pay it back, and the girls who've been there to support us from the start, and I would love to, when we have like an affiliate model, and be able to sort of reward them and as a way of saying thanks for supporting us, because when you are a small startup, you can't afford to pay these influencers sort of the rates that the big brands can.
And are you even niche and kind of more thorough with who you gift to? Meaning, are these specifically people that are known for running, or how do you even determine who to send to?
Yeah, I mean, it's people that I've followed. It's girls that I've followed for forever. I love their content. I relate to them. I think they're really inspirational in what they're doing. So that's kind of where I start. It's who I follow. And then I'll reach out to them. Or, girls who are doing something like maybe more niche in the running space. Maybe there's some girls who like have businesses in the running space, some who are just specific about training, some speak about like outfits, you know, it's kind of like a wide variety. I love that. So okay, we've done personal branding, organic, social, influencer. Have you done anything with events that has also helped with sales? Yes. So, well, we did our first ever event. I wouldn't say that I went into it thinking of it from like a sales perspective. Like I genuinely just want to do more in community sort of things. Like we've done a lot on digital social media, but for me, like the most exciting times are when you get to actually meet and speak to the customers. And we did our first ever event with the Re Club collaboration in London, which was super cool over the summer. And we actually had one customer who flew all the way from Glasgow, Scotland to London just for like our 5K little event, which honestly, like,
how cool!
I nearly like burst out crying when she told me, like, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, that's amazing. And she is like an absolute loyal customer. She's bought like every single piece of our collection.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she actually hadn't bought one piece. She hadn't bought the sunglasses yet, and so I sent them to her after just as like a thank you, because I was like, this is amazing for taking the time to come and like support us. So
I would fully be in tears if that was me. Yeah, that's amazing.
The event, we had like 50 girls come and did a run, and it's so much easier to make content when you're with and around people and like fun. Like we made like some TikTok trends, which like when it's just me by myself, like that is, you know, hard. So when you're then with people, it's a lot easier to sort of get like cool content, and it's just more fun.
And for people that are trying to launch a brand and taking inspiration from your story, how do you reach out to a collaborator for an event? I think it's a nice thing to clear a misconception that events don't always have to be paid and expensive. So what was the event format, and how did you position it maybe where it's a win for both, so both sides are willing to collaborate without this being a fee or a transactional?
I think like it happened really naturally with Ree. She's amazing. Ree Crisp, if you don't follow her, go follow her.
I will, because I don't know her.
Yeah, she's a amazing runner, but she also has her own brand business, which is the Ree Club. So she's built this super cool community of girls in London Her sort of like mission is getting girls to do cool shit.
In the running space or in general?
In running and fitness
Okay.
and sports. So she also cycles, and it's just like a really cool hub for girls to try new hobbies, come together, network, meet new people. And I followed her for ages, so it was like a proper fangirl moment for me when I first sent her some Mile Off bits. She posted about us. She wore our lime green vest at launch. And then she reached out to me to say that she put out to her girl community, like, what brands would you like to work with? And she was like, so many of them mentioned you amongst like Lululemon and other things. She was like, you were up there with like the, on the radar that these girls want to see the Re Club work with. And I was like, let's do it. I was like, this is super cool. Like, it just like felt like it was going to work. And like her community, our community, like really aligned. Yeah, hopefully there's like a crossover. So like people who don't know about the Re Club on Mile Off, like will then see people in the Re Club that don't know about Mile Off, and vice versa. And we literally just met up in London, had like a coffee and just started brainstorming. And we were like, right, let's make this happen in like 2-3 weeks. And yeah, like you don't have to put a lot of money into something like that. Like we managed to get the location kind of for free in return for like tagging them and giving them awareness of both of our sort of Re's personal brand and the Re Club followers and our followers. So we got the location free with like refreshments. And yeah, the only cost really was like creating tote bags. I really wanted to give like goodie bags. It was our first event. So my cost on the side of the brand, putting in like caps and bottles and things like that. But so you can keep costs quite low.
It just keeps going back to how powerful it is to have a social following, because you can really offer collaborators tags and things that you can't if you don't have that. And that ends up being how you can do things without cost. So I feel like it's so important to focus on that as a foundation, obviously in like a thoughtful way, because that ends up leading to so much. And even how you were able to kind of make income on the side while working on Mile Off, because you were starting to get brand deals after 3,000 on your. It just feels like it all goes back to really taking that seriously, because you can save so much money by having a built-in community and brand.
Yeah, I think we spoke about this before as well. Like a personal brand is going to be with you for life. So no matter what happens with your businesses, with other businesses, brand deals, like if you've always got that consistent sort of brand, like personal brand that you're creating, that is going to stay with you and help you along your journey. To always, sort of come back to, and whether it's a source of income or it's a way to reach out and network with people, it's always going to be there.
It's so true. No, I absolutely love it. So, by the way, because you brought up Lululemon and big names, you cannot be humble in this moment. You need to share this. You mentioned something in a talk the other day that you're like the number one fastest growing brand in your category, I think.
Yeah, so I met up with a really cool guy, Tom, from the UK, and he's doing this research paper. So he already did a research paper called, let me get this right, She Runs Brands Walk, which is really cool because it's all about how there's this white space in women's running sort of apparel brands. And he's like talking about, the big incumbent brands. I won't name the names, but they're slow to realizing that there's this big like need that women are demanding. We want pockets, we want functionality. Like, where's the brand made by women for women? So he released this first paper and it went viral. It was like super interesting, and I reached out to him and said, like, this is what I realized 2 years ago. This is why Mine Off exists, because I realized there was a gap in the market, and he's now following up with a few more research papers, all about female running brands, which is really cool. There are sort of more popping up now. But he basically sent me the stat that we are the fastest growing on social, out of like above Satisfy, Bandit, which
that's crazy.
Like, they've had like tens of millions of investment, which is really cool. So I think like that just shows that you don't have to have money and resources and a big team to be able to grow on social. And it's just nice for small brands to know that it's possible without a big marketing budget, that you can sort of get your brand out there and increase brand awareness.
It's so inspiring. You should be so proud. Like number one fast growing in your category without investment. That's wild. What about like a bit more of like the technicalities of e-com and email marketing that has maybe helped with kind of, it's really hard to convert an online product without trying it on. And I can relate because like a part of our beauty brand strategy is the DTC side as well. So when you launch Mile Off, do you feel like anything's particularly stood out or worked well, like a welcome series, like a first time discount, or even just your product pages having a lot of like trustworthy imagery or assets? What else kind of helped kind of ease people's minds in making that decision, like I want to buy this, or bundles, upsells?
So we haven't really done anything like that yet. I would say the most important sort of piece of advice I would give is like putting money into campaign imagery and making like, as much as I do behind the scenes and my own content, like UGC kind of content on my phone, coupling that with some really crisp, amazing standout campaign imagery, like is going to take you really far. And I know not everyone has that much money, but like for me, I did everything else in the brand. I created the website, like I did everything.
You created your website, no way, on Shopify, with a template. Again, that's helpful for people to know.
But like amazing. I wanted to save money in all those aspects so that I could have a little chunk to put into getting a videographer, a photographer, and like a stylist, my friend, amazing friend Amy, who helped to like bring together this campaign. So that we could have like stunning imagery for the website, for social, so it isn't just your own behind the scenes. I think that's just so important, because that is what people look at and they think, oh my gosh, like this is an actual brand and this is amazing, and it makes them buy into it.
Totally. Do you feel like social media is where the raw lives and then e-com is where the high campaign imagery lives, or do you mix both on even social?
I would say mix. Social. So if you go onto our page, like some of the pinned images, like that will be the stunning sort of imagery, but then it will be mixed up with my like UGC sort of style content.
Okay, amazing. So you don't compromise on quality content.
No.
And I know you just did a recent campaign too.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Is there anything you want to shout out that's coming up in the brand, or that you want to bring awareness to in your brand?
So mid-October we'll have our autumn-winter campaign, which is just like taking the brand to the next level. So everything about it, like the fabrics, I flew all the way to China to find like the perfect fabrics for this, because it's a winter collection. It's really important, like the technical sort of performance that can withstand the elements of like winter running. So yeah, all new fabrics, all new color palette, like completely new styles. We did our big campaign shoot in the mountains here in Dubai, Hatta, which is really cool. And then we had an e-com shoot yesterday, and we've used models for the first time. So to begin with, I was using like friends just to save money, but this is the first time that we've like had paid models. And like the shots just like look insane. So
that's so exciting. And I agree, you don't want to compromise on campaign, because it's an impression that is pretty long lasting and makes people trust your brand more seriously.
And I would say like you can do as much as you can do. So I was the one who like ideated everything. Like I didn't pay an agency to come up with everything. Like all I paid for was a photographer, a videographer. And then I sat with them and I was like, this is the script, this is what I want to create. I like did all the mood boards. So you can do like a lot of the work, do as much as you can, and just outsource the bits that like you really can't.
No, you're a lean startup. You're doing as much as you can. How many hours a day does someone like you spend on content, and what is a 2025 modern workday looking like?
So when I'm in the thick of it, like in the lead up to a campaign, when we're posting like 1 or 2 pieces of content each day, like it can get up to like 4 or 5 hours I could spend
a day. That's
content.
important for people to know. This doesn't just come from sometimes shooting 4 to 5 hours a day. But that's also very different than how times used to be. Our workday as an entrepreneur or founder is now, that's so interesting.
So I shout out to the Sweat Equity podcast, because this is like the one-stop shop to go for sort of advice on like social, organic growth, content, marketing. And like what they talk about a lot is how one of their quotes is, content is eating the marketing team. Like there's no longer this traditional sort of, if you look at the org chart of a business, if I look back at like my time at Dyson, you'd have sort of a head of marketing, and then you'd have all the different people working in marketing, PR, events, paid media person, then maybe you'd have like the intern or the junior sort of marketing manager. That is like scrapped, like, and you know, someone who was just working in a silo and just like post a few carousels, post a few random like assets or reels, like that is completely scrapped. And like they say how that one person should be like the most sort of experienced person in the team. They should have all the money, like the highest salary, the most resources. Like they are the most important person now in marketing. And so everything should come off of that foundation of like the social media person. So their strategy, what they're doing, will then feed into like the email person. So like they'll create all these assets that can then go into like email, what is working well on like paid, on social organic, that should then go into the paid person, because if you know it's working on organic, then it's going to like perform well and paid, like instead of the other way around, which it often was before, you know, like we would always think about paid and then social organic. So yeah, I just think like as we're building out a team, like for me, that's going to be super important to keep like social at the heart of everything we do. Even when we do eventually turn on like paid and really start focusing on like email, that will all stem still from our sort of.
I think it'll always be a social first brand and a community driven
Yeah.
brand, which is just so relevant today and just is what people are looking for. Lastly, I know that there is like a mentor who has taken interest in your brand, and literally like when you kind of saw that initial interest, you like fell off your chair, and it's a really exciting person. When are you able to talk about that? I know that it's very like personal right now, but
still confidential. But I just think all I would say is you never know who is watching. Like me building in public has been the best thing that I could have done because of the different people who have seen what I'm doing, who have reached out, who I'm now working with. Which will be announced sort of in the near future. But yeah, in terms of like women investment in the business, we know like the stats are dire. It's like 2% of VC funding goes to female sort of founded businesses. But by putting yourself out there and sharing your journey in public, you're going to get a lot like higher chance of someone seeing what you're doing, especially if you're posting on LinkedIn and like places like that as well. And I think that's the best thing that we can do to start changing that stat, to get more people noticing, these cool businesses. Because if you're not sharing it, how are people going to know about you?
You never know who's watching your content, which is so exciting. I'm so excited for you. Thank you for being so open in today's chat. I feel like this is the exact kind of tactical tips that the audience wants to know. And you're just so much fun. I feel like me and you can talk for hours. But thanks, Alice. It was so fun.
Amazing. I loved it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode and feel inspired by everything that our guest shared, don't forget that you can win a 1-hour free consultation call with today's expert. All you have to do is look at the episode description and the show notes to see all the steps to enter to win this call. We will select one winner only from this episode, and you'll find out within 1 week of this episode's air date. We'll put you in touch with the expert, you'll schedule a time to meet for a call, and the expert guest will look at your brand or answer your personalized questions, and you'll really get a one-on-one audit and consultation, which is such an exciting opportunity. Exclusive for our full disclosure listeners.